is we've leveraged some of our expertise over the past 2+ decades of supporting schools and students and educators, teachers, principals. And we are trying to innovate, the way professional development happens for educators. And that we're doing that through the Stride Professional Development Center. Gone are the days where, it's face-to-face only PD. It's episodic professional development. It's professional development that's not necessarily relevant to what teachers and educators need right away. So the Professional Development Center is designed to solve that challenge with some unique and innovative ways of delivering content.
All right, man. Well, listen, we are super excited here at the network to be engaged with you all and helping to provide this opportunity for teachers all across the country, and especially those teachers that are coming from our HBCU backgrounds, because we know that
Absolutely.
education was always one of the stalwarts of most HBCUs in this country. They all had teaching programs, and that's what a lot of them were founded for. So, Darren, let's talk a little
Absolutely.
bit about those special programs that you guys have for the
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Roy, you hit on the very important point. Right now in our country, we're facing probably one of the greatest challenges, of our teaching core that we have in many, many years. And that's around this teacher shortage. A lot of teachers are exiting the profession. Just based on tenure. They're retiring and moving on, and then you have our existing teachers who are being taxed and stressed. Particularly post COVID with increasing demands, challenges that they're facing in the classroom, and a host of other issues that they struggle with. And um, we need good teachers, and we need to support the teachers that we have. So the two things that we're doing. Is that we know first year teachers among all teachers are among the first to leave the profession within the first 5 years. I think they do at a 44% rate, which is just scary to think that folks are, graduated, want to go in the classroom and make a difference, but, you know, feel like they need to leave within the first 5 years because it's so challenging. So we want to support them. Obviously, as a new teacher, your school that you work where you work your first year, the district where you work, there will be some professional development support to assist you. But we want to go a step further. We want to help every teacher in the country get off to a strong start to their first year and have some stick to itiveness, to help them get that first year. So we're offering access to
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Guest menu looks like this for November the 11th, 2023. Charles Edmond, Charles Bishop of Dr. Cavill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab, co-host Brandon B.J. Jones of Inside HBCU Football, and last but not least, Coach Vann Pettaway joins us. B.J., Coach Pettaway in hour number 2. Here's simply what's trending. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. FAMU will host the 2023 SWAC Football Championship. Congratulations to Florida A&M. A spectacular season. And if they can hoist up that trophy on their home field, it will be a great time for the Rattler Nation. Southern University basketball scores a big victory, not only for Southern University, but for HBCU basketball. A big win over the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We'll get into that as well. And then finally, Southern University football closes out the home part of their 2023 football season after a bitter and disappointing showing at Alcorn State. And we'll get into that very, very quickly. That's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Charles Edmonds, good morning to you. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I am okay. I've been doing an all-nighter with high school football. Vicksburg season ended last night up in Grenada, Mississippi, and flew in this morning. Just got here about an hour and a half ago and ready for some Sunday football. We've had Friday football last night, Grambling and UAPB. Now some Sunday football tomorrow, Alcorn and Texas Southern with a lot on the line. So I'm hanging in there. It's just a good time of the year.
Well, I'll definitely have some thoughts on that game Sunday, but we'll start out with Southern University. Congratulations to Alcorn State University, first and foremost. Now, some Alcornites had complained to me about the offensive play calling and the offensive showing, but I couldn't tell last Saturday. I love how they came out. And look, Southern's defense is pretty darn good up until the Texas Southern game. But strike those two games out. Up until that point, very good against the run. What does Alcorn and Coach Radnam come out and do? They come out throwing the football. And they were very successful. So once again, congratulations to Alcorn State. Now for Southern University, which that is my school. I'm an alum. But I'm always going to be brutally honest. And Charles, I kind of warned the audience that I wasn't feeling pretty good about this game. And I'm not happy to be right, but I was right. Undisciplined. I'm just going to kind of throw out some words. Offense scored first. As usual, a gift by Alcorn State in a turnover. But they scored first once again. Defense is banged up. And kind of knew that coming in to this ball game. And it kind of showed. But again, we have to give credit to Alcorn State and what they were able to accomplish and their game plan. The defense is now finally breaking down. And injuries, a lot of them. And they played a lot of snaps on the field over the length of the season. And we talked about it before. If the offense has or as the defense, if they have a slow start or a bad game, are you confident enough of the offense can be able to win the game? I wasn't. And look, that's my opinion, but the facts will bear it out. Harold Blood. You know, you don't like that. And we had him as a guest in the fall camp, right before fall camp on this show. We wished him the best. He had a grasp of the offense, but I'm just going to be honest. I think he's digressed. You know, you look each game to see improvement. We're almost at the end of the season, and you don't really see that improvement. Good morning to everyone in the chat room. O-line, offensive line, despite injuries, and I know they've had injuries, to me, they've continued to play subpar. Ball security, sacks, some of that is on the offensive line. Some of it is on Harold Blood holding the ball too long. It is what it is, Charles Edmond. This football team still has a chance, technically, to get into the SWAC championship game. But I don't know. I don't know if they deserve it. I really don't. No, they don't deserve it. This football team, you know, so much promise for this season. It's now you're just kind of hoping to win out the rest of the season, and then you got to look at making some adjustment. Now, what those adjustments going to be, and boy, the Jaguar Nation, they're fired up. I'm going to always be professional. I'm going to not call for anybody to lose their job. None of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get personal. I'm just going to keep it fair and balanced. But after this 2023 season, you're just going to have to look at some things and make some adjustments. I'll use that word, Charles, adjustments. But bitterly disappointing the way they went into that ball game with what's at stake. And then, of course, I wasn't at the game, but I was told some players or a player shoved the Alcorn coach. And I know it got bitter and chipper, and I know disappointing, but then that goes back to being undisciplined or not disciplined. That's not the way to do it. And if this happened, and I'm the head coach, and I didn't see it, but I'm told, and I do an investigation, and I find out that this happened, that player or those players, see you, not the rest of the year, and then you'll have to prove to me that you can be a disciplined player and be professional. But again, this is what I was told. Those who are watching, Charles, you may could confirm it. Someone could have told you. Maybe you saw what happened. But it just goes back to a team that's just not disciplined. But anyway, 44-21, the final score. Alcorn State. And if you look at it, Charles, first quarter was disastrous. 24-7, Alcorn State outscored Southern. 10 points in the second quarter for Alcorn. Then Southern University, 14 points at half, down 34-14. They outscored Alcorn State 7-3 in the fourth. Charles, I've had my say so far. You go ahead.
First of all, Carlos, I must admit, you told me you were dead right, and I was dead wrong in terms of how you felt the way the Jaguars would come out. And first of all, the Braves just did what they had to do. Okay, that's first and foremost.
Yep, congratulations.
Right? So, the Braves offensively efficient, throwing the football as we talked about. Running game was there. Special teams was an issue for us. That's how Southern jumped out on top. King McNair muffed a punt, gave Southern a short field. We talked about it last week. You couldn't do that. We did it. Southern jumped out 7-0. But then the walls caved in if you're a Jaguar.
5 turnovers total.
5 turnovers, 31 unanswered in 16 or 17 minutes of game action. And, of course, congratulations, Alcorn. As Alcorn's announcer and as an employee of Alcorn State University, I am happy we stay in control of the West. But I'm going to take my Alcorn hat off, Carlos. I don't have a SWAC hat. If I did, I'd put it on. Because I'm a fan of the SWAC. I'm a product of the SWAC. If you had no rooting interest of Alcorn or Southern University and you just wanted to see a good SWAC football game, you didn't see that. You didn't see that Saturday. Alcorn and Southern football games are usually hotly contested, come down to the final play or plays. Steve McNair broke the record against Southern University back in '94. Those highly contested games. But what you saw last Saturday was just, what the heck? This is a family show, so I'm going to say what the heck. But I can have a few more choice words just as a fan of the SWAC now to have happen what happened and how Southern just completely collapsed. You talk about the word epic fail. That was an epic fail. And it's even more so, again, I'm talking as a fan of the SWAC, Southern jumped out 7-0. Now, it's one thing if you don't come out of the locker room, if you don't get off the bus, that's one thing. But Southern had early momentum and just a complete collapse. Keenan Leishman was a one-man wrecking crew on defense.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story of Keenan Leishman? He's from Baton Rouge, wanted to be a Jag, out of high school, wanted to be a Jag, didn't get what he wanted, and then transferred from Rutgers, hit the portal, wanted to come back to Southern again. He had 2 cracks to be a Jaguar for whatever reason. Southern didn't look at him for whatever reason. I don't know. But it was personal for him. And hey, right place, right time. He had the strip 6. And he told me he's going to be our pregame guest. He just took it out of the running back's hands. He just snatched it out. And then the pick 6. Carlos, you were there for for both championship games. Does that last touchdown that he had remind you of something?
Mm-hmm.
That last turnover on the square out, jumped the route.
Bad quarterback play then. Bad quarterback decision making.
Yeah.
Last Saturday.
Yeah. So when you look at all that, again, I took my all-court hat off, and I'm just speaking as a fan of the SWAC. That just didn't work. And we've had a bunch of premier games in this league this year. FAMU, Prairie View, Jackson State, FAMU. Those games were epic fails too. But this one, to me, just as much as I wanted to see Alcorn win the game, and they did, I just wanted to see a good football game because I thought Southern University was going to play the best game of the year because they had to. They had to, and they didn't. So, as you mentioned, Southern still can win the West. You know, they can still win the West. Braves got to lose 2. Southern's got to beat Prairie View and Grambling. On paper, can you draw it up? Yeah, you can. But realistically speaking, can you see that? I don't. As a Braves fan, I'm pulling for Southern University today.
Oh, and I'm sure.
And I'm challenging again Southern University at home against a quality team, top tier team in the conference, and Prairie View is that. So
save it, Charles. I'm sorry. I gotta interrupt you.
I know.
I just don't have the confidence. Right now, and challenges been put out there all season. Bottom line, they haven't gotten it done.
I agree.
I was listening to the radio broadcast, and the announcer said they don't deserve to even have an opportunity to play in the Western Division. Now, that kind of puts you at a contrast because if you're a Southern alum, you want the best. But you also got to call it the way you see it. Yeah, Johnny, the thrill is gone. No more challenges, Charles. No more challenges. They've had the opportunity to do it. Now, you hope for the seniors that they go out and play a good game today, 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Also, don't you think that Prairie View is going to be fired up? Remember what happened last year? They're going to be fired up. So it's gut check time now. Yeah. After a disappointing loss, do you have enough of an attitude and pride and all of those adjectives to come out and play a good football game? My patience is thin, Charles. It's thin right now. Yeah. If I go out, and let me just say this, they had a lot of discussion about quarterback play, but the position that he's being put in, play calling, I just don't understand it. I really don't. And if things don't work out, you've had a whole season to fix it. And if it's not working, adjust. Defenses have done a good job, I think, of analyzing Southern University's offense. And if they have analyzed it and come up with a great game plan, then you have to adjust to the defense's adjusting. Yeah. I just don't see it. So, hopefully I'm wrong.
And then the aspect of the defense of the discipline stuff. I mean, again, you and I have seen many on Alcorn Southern game, and what I saw from the very beginning You know, it was just kind of head scratching to me. I mean, in the pregame, there was a lot of jaw jacking going on, which you kind of expected that. Then someone throws a can of blue mist or whatever that is on the on the field. I'm like, where did that come from? What is that about? Like, really? Come on. I mean, the game itself takes care of itself with all that other extra stuff going on. And then our tight end got his eye gouged out.
Wow.
And Coach McNair said that he had never seen a boxer's eye up close. You know, when a boxer, when he get his eyes gouged out, he said that's how our tight end's eye looked. I didn't see his eye myself, but Coach McNair talked about it. Truck Griffin, who's going to try to give it a go today. You know, just the chippiness, and the Braves were prepared for some of that stuff, and they tried not to get engaged in that. And Coach McNair did warn his team about some of that stuff. So the Braves did a good job in being poised, but more so disappointed in just how Southern just came apart at the seams. I just didn't expect to see that at all. And so, again, back to what I said earlier, if you were looking for a good SWAC football game, you didn't get that. And just as a fan of the SWAC, I'll put my all-court hat back on, Carlos. As a fan of the SWAC, I was disappointed. I really was. I was happy for my Braves. We stay in contention. Good job. Senior day. Great atmosphere, great weather, great crowd. But just to see the collapse of Southern University offensively, it was tough to watch at times. And so I don't know what's going to happen. You're on the inside of that stuff. This is year 2 of Dooley. This is year 2. They won the West last year. Coaches are stubborn. You kind of expect, and I this is just my own personal opinion. I don't think Dooley's going to change much. He feels like as a head coach, you still got to play it close to the vest. We're talking about the fact that he knows his team still has a shot, even though it's an outside shot. You got to play it close to the vest all the way through. You got senior day today, got the Bayou Classic in 2 weeks. That adds a whole nother set of emotions to the game. You want to close it out strong. So I don't expect a whole lot of changes from Southern University. And as much as I love the Jaguars and the Jaguar Nation, I don't have confidence that they can win a big game at home. I challenged it early in the year, Carlos. Jackson State, Florida A&M, I challenged it then. Didn't come through. I don't have faith that they can do it. I did that, and I challenged them early because I felt like it would come down to something like this on the back end. And it's coming down to it, and they haven't shown that they can do it. So, hey, we hope that Southern rises up, forget about last week, get it done for the seniors, for the pride, for the alumni, for the boosters, for the parents, for the Jaguar Nation. Show up and show out and get it done today. But prior history and evidence suggests that it may not happen.
Well, for the Jaguars, 5-4 overall on the season, 4-2 in the conference. They have a chance still to have a winning season. Also, they still technically can get into a SWAC championship game. For the Braves, 6-3 overall, 5-1 in conference. Statistical story, and I'll just give you a few numbers to kind of paint the picture of what we've been talking about. Net yards rushing for Southern, 69 yards, 176 for Alcorn State. Net yards passing, 194 for Southern, 263 for Alcorn State. Total offense, 439 yards for Alcorn State on 69 plays. Southern University, 263 on 49 plays. Alcorn had 20 more snaps in the game. But that's kind of what you've seen pretty much all year. Penalties, 9 for 115. Doggone it. That late in the season. And you still have those penalties. Oh, yeah, something has to change. And if I'm the CEO, I'm the head coach, it falls on me, and I have to address that. And if you hadn't addressed it at this point, then major change had to happen. Maybe with personnel, players. Come on, we got to do better than that. Time of possession, 22 minutes, 43 seconds for Southern, 37 minutes and 17 seconds for Alcorn State. From an individual standpoint, I guess the MVP is Robin's bow playing. 5 punts for 235 yards, 47 yards per punt. Just dismal. Just dismal. Once again, congratulations to Alcorn State. You got it done. You really got it done.
And Carlos, the one blemish I asked Coach McNair the other day, was this a complete, and I really didn't ask him this all year, you're still looking for that 4-quarter game, that complete game from start to finish. I thought he might say yes, but he says no. He says offensively we were good, defensively we were fine, but special teams, we had an 8-yard punt. Of course, we had the muff on the punt return. Those things can cost you games in these next 2 games. So it wasn't as complete as he would like for it to be. Of course, the head coach is never going to be 100% satisfied, but he felt like it was about as close to a really good game as we've had all year long. And so we'll see if we can make those corrections and adjustments come tomorrow at 2:00.
Yeah. Charles, if I can, I'm kind of looking. I'm going to look over here at the live chat. Good morning to everyone. Question for me. Michael Jones says, Carlos, if FAMU loses to Bethune-Cookman, do they still host the SWAC championship? Yes. It is set in stone. It is set in stone.
Yeah.
They're going to be hosting. Now, their opponent, that is yet to be determined, Charles.
Yeah. It's yet to be determined. And right now it's a 2-horse race. By the Braves winning, they kind of knocked Grambling out of the picture. Grambling still was kind of lurking, but that's out. Any tiebreaker, Alcorn, Grambling. Of course, the Braves beat Grambling. So, look, the Braves still have work to do. 2 games on the road, long week to get ready for this one, short week for Jackson State, who's off today. So you're going to have a Tiger team that's going to be dangerous. Heck, I would have rather faced Jackson State if they had won the Eastern Division, just like last year, when we had a chance to get them after they won it. I mean, because you do take your foot off the gas. There's no doubt about that. But, that Jackson's game is going to be really tough, and we have to continue to play well. And this TSU team, if they make 4 or 5 more plays, commit 4 or 5 less penalties, we could be talking about Texas Southern in this conversation for the Western Division, because they've let some games slip, including the game in Baton Rouge recently. So this TSU team is dangerous.
That's the word I was going to use. And I was talking to Alcorn Knight earlier in the week. Let's just be honest. TSU should have won at Southern. Jackson State, 21-19, could have very well won that football game. I told the Alcorn Knight, Texas Southern's a dangerous football team. Very dangerous. Do not take them lightly. And then, of course, with Jackson State, you don't have to say much more about that game. So if Alcorn State is not careful, if they don't slip up, watch out. And still 2 tough ball games, in my humble opinion. We're going to take a timeout and visit with our first guest, Charles Bishop. He knows a lot about this Prairie View A&M football team that's here at A.W. Mumford Stadium at 2 p.m. Boy, I've already gotten some calls. It's like you can drive straight on campus. Such disappointment. It's senior day, last home games, but it is what it is. Chance of rain today. One of the low points of this 2023 football season. However, technically still has a shot at the Western Division championship. But this team is hurting bad. And can they look deep inside and come up with a fantastic effort today? I'll have my prediction of the ball game, but we'll take a timeout. Charles Bishop joins us next. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Parish, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Carlos Brown, Charles Edmond, and now joined by the Bishop, Charles Bishop of the Optical Hills Inside HBCU Sports Lab co-host. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Carlos. It's great to be here with you this morning. Looking forward to today's game. It's going to be fun.
Well, listening to the band kind of got me in a somewhat better mood. Something about the bands that always does that. Maybe we can see Alcorn and Prairie View at Tiger Stadium one day in a football game, since they're being very generous with giving out funds for those type of games. They'll probably give a little less when you're coming from out of state, but
right.
Hey, I don't think you would turn it down. I'm thinking if you're Prairie View and Alcorn. With that being said, Charles, this Prairie View A&M football team coming into A.W. Mumford Stadium at 2 p.m. today. Kind of give us an outlook on this Prairie View football team. You've seen them up close and personal.
Yeah, well, when you take a look at them, I think last week really helped the psyche of Prairie View's football team quite a bit. Huge win of Arkansas Pine Bluff because for the better part of, I believe, a month, they had been in an offensive doldrums in terms of losses to Houston Christian. They had an off week, and then they came back with that huge clunker against Florida A&M. So to get back in the win column, that was huge for the psyche of the team. Talked to a lot of players after the game. It was homecoming festivities, and they all said to a man that was the game that they needed to sort of break back out and realize that they still have a lot of explosive ability.
And you look at this game, and I know coaches and particularly don't like to look at what happened previously the year before, but I'm thinking Prairie View is going to be fired up, coming into this ball game today, coming off of a win, looking back at last year, the kind of extracurricular activities that happened before the game, and then the results of the game. They're going to be fired up, in my opinion, Charles Bishop. You think so?
I think that they definitely will be fired up. There's still a lot to play for. Obviously, they're going to need help from to see what's going to happen with Alcorn over the next couple of weeks. But despite it being an up and down season, there's still a lot to play for, especially with regards to this Southern game. Interstate rivalry. So it's one of those games where they know that they have the ability to go into Baton Rouge, get the victory, and just let the chips fall where they may from there. But I think last week just went so far with regards to helping out this offense. They were able to go up top, and they scored early and often, and they found some guys like Shamar Savage, 6'4", fast. Out there on the outside, 8 catches, 136 yards last week, to go along with Trajan Spiller, who had a catch last week. Brian Jenkins was able to work the slot and things of that nature. But they have explosive ability, and like I said, talking to some of the players last week, it was just they needed to break out of the doldrums, and to get that big win last week against Arkansas Pine Bluff, you can't say enough about it for Prairie.
Bishop, has this season for Prairie View, I mean, everyone comes in with, high expectations. This season, have they underachieved, if that's the word I could use, disappointment? Where does Prairie View Nation, how do they feel about this team now at this point coming into the Southern football game?
In so many ways, Prairie View's fan base and Southern's fan base, they really mirror each other with regards to how they've looked at the team. Like I said, it has been up and down. They've had a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and I think that's the thing that they really label in terms of how they've attacked the season. They let one get away there at Grambling. There have been highs in terms of coming back against Texas Southern, coming back against Alcorn, and getting those last-second victories, but the lows have sort of balanced out the highs. The clunker at Houston Christian, not being able to really do anything offensively there, and then the game at Florida A&M, that was another tough one. And then quite honestly, they've been nicked up during the course of the season. So I think it's been 6 of one and half a dozen of the other in terms of the way they've looked at this team. But I generally think that they've been, if last week can kind of give some sort of perspective, it gives hope in terms of maybe they are getting healthy at the right time of the season, especially when you take a look at the bad losses to FAMU and Houston Christian. Ahmad Antoine didn't play. He came back last week, and just talking to a couple of coaches last week, his presence really gives this offense a different dynamic, and I think that goes a long way. And which Trayvon Conley do you get today? Do you get the Trayvon Conley that threw for 300 yards last week, or do you get the Trayvon Conley where you're just you're scratching your head trying to figure out there's so much athletic ability there for it to not show in certain games? It's really puzzling.
Charles Edmond, these two teams, these two programs know each other very well. Of course, Coach Julie, former head football coach at Prairie View A&M, his assistants were at Prairie View with him. So both programs know each other very well. Would that play a factor into this ball game today?
I think so. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Coach Dooley said when he was at Prairie View, I got a quarterback in my back pocket that nobody knows anything about, and I was wondering who he was talking about. It was Conley. Yeah. It was definitely him, and so he's a guy that Dooley knows well. He knows all his idiosyncrasies. So that could definitely, play a factor. So I think that there are no secrets as far as what Dooley knows as far as Prairie View is concerned. And look, I mean, for Coach Bubba McDowell, I mean, look, his thing to me when media day was finishing strong. You know, that team has faltered, losing the Valley 2 years in a row. The Braves knocked them out of it last year on a Friday night. And I think you can say the stretch run was FAMU. And they still got 2 tough games left. Bama State comes to Panther Stadium. That's no picnic. This game today is no picnic. So I think for Prairie View, they know Southern and vice versa. I don't think there'll be any secrets. Prairie View's playing for something. Southern just trying to stay in the conversation. And so I think this is going to be one of those games in which whichever team is cleaner, I think it's going to be the team that's going to win this game.
Yeah, Charles, I couldn't agree more because I think that has been the theme of this season, without a doubt, from Coach Bubba McDowell, has been to finish strong. And like I said, that if a game can go a long way for Prairie View, that was big last week for them. And I think that's something that he's put his foot down on the gas this past week in terms of finishing out this schedule as strong as you can. And like I said, some guys are getting healthy and coming back. Caleb Johnson missed last week for Prairie View. Amada Antoine came back for the first time in 2.5 games because he went out midway of that Valley game. But getting him back, I think that's huge for this offense.
And I remember that young man, if I'm not mistaken, from a great high school program in New Orleans, Louisiana, Edmond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at it, sometimes just that presence, as you stated, it kind of gets the mental state of the team in a much better place. I want to get you guys' opinion on this. You know, we always talk about in this show about overcoming adversity, and each team in this conference, no matter what sport, they've gone through that. And you just talked about finishing strong. Overall, in the conference, it has the play this year to you been erratic, sporadic, or has it been a typical season? Now, I have an opinion on it, but I want to see what you guys think.
I think there has been a clear difference between FAMU and the rest of the conference. I think they have proven themselves to be one of the more elite teams in the conference. But over the past, I think, few weeks, Alcorn is closing that gap. So to me, if you're talking about teams that have been ascending, obviously Alabama State, they've gotten on a strong winning streak, but Alcorn has shown the ability to not only be able to throw the ball, but to be able to run the ball as well, with getting Jarvin Hargrove back up and rolling as he was last year. So I think it is FAM, and the gap is closing as we get toward the end of the season, if you will.
Well, that's interesting, Charles. Gap closing, but I still would say FAMU, without a doubt, number one. No doubt about it. I guess I'm thinking about taking out the rest of the teams. I guess I'm kind of disappointed because some of the play I see. You come into the season, you had some established quarterbacks, and a lot of teams had to develop that quarterback to make the team be in a better place. Alabama State was one. Southern University was another one. Charles Edmond, I'm missing somebody. Who else? And but you still see coming into the season, it's still that same problem that they have to address, and that's that quarterback play. And then another thing that kind of I've been disappointed in, and I know in today's game you don't want to curb the excitement of players and stuff, but my goodness, I'm kind of old school in the way. After one play, people are just up and in other players' faces bragging about what they've done. And in the old way, you wait, if you're going to do that, to the end of the game when you won the game. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a pet peeve of what I'm seeing, but I just see a lot of that across the football landscape.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's what we've been talking about. It's called social media. Social media drives a lot of this extra stuff that you just mentioned. A lot of talk on social media before these games. A lot of talk on social media during these games.
And
a
after.
whole lot of talk on social media after these games. So it gets ratcheted up when you're calling out other teams and on social media. People keep receipts. One thing about social media, receipts are being kept. And if you can't take it, don't dish it out. And so what's happening is people are dishing it out and can't take it. Period. And I think that's a part of this, in my humble opinion. I think that's what's driving a lot of it. But to your question about just football in general this year, I thought I had a bead on what was going on in this conference, but when you had Jackson and losing on their homecoming and Grambling losing on their homecoming on the same day, I gave up because I don't know what to expect. And last week was another case in point. I never thought to see what from Southern University what I thought I saw last week. So you don't know what's going to happen today. You really don't. And I've kind of given up on terms of trying to at least get a beat on it because you just don't know. Southern might come out here and play lights out today against Prairie. They may play the best game of the whole year. And in my opinion, Carlos, you'll be happy. But I think a lot of the Jaguar Nation will probably be ticked off because they're going to be like, where was that all year long?
Yeah.
Some people probably would say that. I would think, like, where's that been? I mean,
they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy.
and to your point, Charles, I still look at Southern as that same team with that fabulous comeback against Texas Southern and Kendrick Grimes going for 136 yards in the game. Like they have weapons, and it's puzzling why they've been so inconsistent this season.
That's why it's been so frustrating. When you see, it's kind of like if you're in the classroom and you see a student and you know that student is an A student, but they underachieve. Not because they're not talented and don't know it, but they just not getting it done. Yeah. And that's how I kind of look at this football team. But Charles brings up a great point. Social media. I mean, I'm looking. The show is on social media. I'm on social media, and I'm looking after a game in the locker room. And I'm not trying to say you curve the enthusiasm, but my goodness, you're calling out the next opponent, and then you go out and lay an egg when you called out the opponent in the locker room. All that kind of stuff, But I know that's the time we live in. But I'm not accepting that. But that's just me, my opinion.
And what makes it worse, Carlos, is that it's one thing to have the chatter about the team in the game, but then it gets a little personal, and then you start talking about the campuses, the dorms. It goes way out there, the cafeteria. And that,
That's
to me,
bad.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're all product of HBCUs. I mean, our dorms could be better, our cafeterias could be better. It all could be better. We all could be better. But we are the place that we're in, and I don't get involved in that. And that's when it gets ugly and personal to me on social media, when it goes way beyond the boundaries of what happens on the football field. So that adds an extra element to it. But you talked about the quarterback position, Carlos. I mean, I think it's still incomplete. I mean, when you talk about Braves football, I mean, Aaron Allen, if you look at Aaron Allen this year, of course, he got hurt in the Grambling game last year, totally different Aaron Allen. Chose not to get the surgery, chose to rehab in Houston, and the offense has conformed to what he can do. Instead of a run first, pass third, we're passing it, we're slinging it around. So I think that's the one change. But other than that, you look at Musa at FAMU, some people think he's the real deal. Some say, still got some question marks, but they're getting it done. They're getting it done. They're in the championship game.
He is, and if Alabama State, you look at them and developing in the quarterback situation. How many people have told you, boy, if they had that guy offensively to run a team, the defense is there. The defense is there. But I will say this about Alcorn. Once again, Coach McNair, during the season, didn't wait till the end of the season to make adjustments. They evolved. They made a change within the season. And you can see some of the comments coming in the chat room. Stubborn? Who are they talking about? Stubbornness?
Well, I guess I asked the question, how difficult is it for coaching staffs to sort of evolve during the course of the season, especially when you have your sort of thought processes in terms of the personnel that's going out there. How difficult is it to change from the personnel that you thought was going to be the personnel you needed out there?
Well, Charles, Edmond, I think those coaches who are able to make those changes, and don't have the mindset of, well, this is what we're running. This got to work. This has to work. And when it doesn't work, are you able to bring the ego down a little bit and make adjustments? And you've seen in some teams they've been able to do that. Then in some teams you've seen that they don't. They figure this is our game plan. It should work. And I'm not going to change my mindset.
Well, the other aspect too is that if you look at Coach McNair, he doesn't lean into a quarterback in the offseason. His mantra has been the same every year. We're gonna let it play out. We're gonna let the thing play out, and come August 25th, we're gonna make a decision. He does not commit to a quarterback in the summer. He does not commit to a quarterback in June. Eric Dooley committed to his quarterback right after spring practice. Am I correct?
And committed and is still with him
right
up until today. And I got a bunch of questions. Can Coach Dooley, if Blood gets off to a rocky start, can he make an adjustment? Can he make a change? I asked the question, but I think I know the answer already. No.
Well, he was committed.
There's PJ. Good
he was
morning,
committed
PJ.
to it, and Coach McNair never committed to Aaron Allen or Tyler Macon or anyone. He's just gonna let the thing play out, and we'll make a decision. Tyler Macon had the big run against USM, and he got hurt. Aaron Allen took advantage of that opportunity, and you see what he's doing with it. But I think coaches have to, when coaches get too deep in that, and they say, "Hey, we're gonna go with this guy." I thought Calvez was gonna be the guy at Grambling. Was he the guy at Grambling? Signed the NIL deal. I thought Calvez. Nope. And so this is kind of what happens. That's why, to me, as a coach, and BJ's, now that he's on, he can probably talk more about this. As a coach, when you truly commit early like that, you have to almost you got to humble yourself and eat your words and understand that, hey, it's what's best for the team. And if you got to do a pivot to get the best out of it, you got to do what you got to do. But most coaches are stubborn. Most coaches, when they say this, they're going to do this. They're not going to do that. So I think that's just kind of where Dooley is, I think.
Look at this comment. Coaches should be committed to winning, not well. It went off. Put that one back up, Roy. I'll look over here. Well, we'll put it back up. But I think what he was saying that, you've got to commit to the team winning. And back to Alcorn. Macon, everybody come in. I had some people tell me Alcorn wins if he plays well. From the outside looking in, I think Allen is the better quarterback, the total package. To me, Macon is a tremendous athlete, but I don't think he has intangibles like Allen. Look, what I saw last week, hey, I feel confident in what I said earlier. That was the quarterback, and I'm not getting tied up on because he's come from a Power 5 school. You got to get the job done. What's best for the system? What's best for that team? Allen, no doubt about it. In my humble opinion, he's the guy. And maybe Macon should be utilized at another position, Charles. But anyway.
Well, he's being used in the Wildcat right now. I mean, against Southern University, the last 2 or 3 games, he's been used on short yardage, second and short, because we know what he can do with his legs. Had the 75-yard run against USM. So Coach Phillips and Coach Elliott Redden, the offensive coaches, have found a way to get the best guys on the field and to utilize the talents that they have. So Tyler Macon's a totally different deal, but Aaron Allen is definitely getting it done right now.
Here's my vote. BJ, welcome.
Good morning, fellas. Good afternoon. Shout out to Charles, man. Unbelievable hospitality you showed us last week. Oh, man. Really appreciate it, Charles, man. Charles invited us to his suite, man. My wife and I had an opportunity to meet someone who I look up to, who is Dean Barnes. Every time I meet him, I am Just listening to him as a kid and now having the ability, to meet him and talk to him, man, is just I don't get starstruck by many people, but Dean Barnes is one of those people.
He's the original. He's a
Yeah,
great,
very much
great
so.
guy.
Yeah.
Swag legend. Yes, indeed.
Yes, absolutely.
Another one that should be in the SWAC, I call it Media Hall of Fame. There's going to be a lot in there, I believe, or should be. We're kind of talking Southern and Prairie View, and of course, the conversation gets back to Southern and Alcorn. You were there, BJ. We exchanged text message. I tried to warn Charles Edmond, but he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen. He keeps throwing out these challenges, but it's just like I'm on the outside looking in for Alcorn. He can tell me, and I'm going to listen to what he says about Alcorn. I tried to tell him about Southern. What you see is what you get with this football team. But your thoughts, BJ?
I thought last week was the worst game that Southern had played all year. And I think that Jaguar Nation would have been able to handle a loss just talking to people. But the undisciplined play, it was, oh my goodness, it was bad. And this is the thing about it, Carlos. It's been bad consistently. Southern University has played 9 football games. And 7 of those football games, we've gone over 110 yards of penalties. That's discipline. That starts at the top. That starts at the top. So nothing has been nipped in the bud, and that frustrates Jaguar Nation. And then on top of that, look, I think Harold Blood is a tremendous young man. I think that you guys just talked about having a system, how easy it is to change. I'll tell you, as a defensive coordinator and interviewing for other defensive coordinator jobs, one thing they ask you, how do you work in an ever-changing work environment? And coaches pay attention on your answer that you give on that. Because I've come into seasons where I thought that I had this and this what we were going to run. And then a game or two in, I realized this is my personnel. I have conversations with them. What are you comfortable with? And now we've had to revamp the entire thing. And it usually works because the kids are going to tell you, I'm comfortable with this. I'm comfortable with that. And then you readjust that on the fly. And I think not seeing that is bringing people back to last season, and particularly the ending of last season. And that's not a good thing.
Here's a question I would have, especially if you've seen what you've done work, if you've seen your system work. How difficult is it to maneuver off of you've seen the success of it?
I've from the school that I come from, Charles, I've always been told that your system is as good as the X's and O's that you have. And if you don't have a certain X or a certain O, you cannot be married to that system. You're doing your players a disservice by saying this is what we're going to run and this is what we're going to do, regardless if you have the ability to do the things that I asked you to do, particularly at the quarterback position. I think that Harold Blood can be a serviceable quarterback, but I do think that he's been asked to do some things that he's not comfortable doing. I think that this offense has been asked to do some things. I'm going to be honest with you. They don't have the skill level up front to be able to allow those long developing pass routes only work when you have a solid offensive line. I would argue that the offensive line for Southern is the weak point on that offense. So you have to adjust now. Instead of long and deep, we have to go short and quick. We have to do some play action. We have to do some slide protections, a little bit more pass pro. You have to be able, if they're high school guys that are able to do this, that's making a lot less money, when it comes to be a collegiate coach and you're making the money that you're making, people aren't going to want to hear your excuses, particularly people that know the ins and outs and X and O's of the ball game.
So in other words, BJ, kind of what we were talking about, the word used, stubbornness, making adjustments when the defense already knows what you can and can't do. No adjustments. And you can go and look at every game. Southern scores first, whether it's from a short field or they, they score on a big play, but then defenses make adjustments, and Southern doesn't make an adjustment to.
I haven't seen Jaguar Nation as mad as they were last Saturday. I have not seen Jaguar Nation that mad in a long time. And when I say Jaguar Nation, I'm talking about the people that buy tickets, and I'm also talking about some people that sitting in some offices. And they were mad collectively, and that's not a good thing.
Not a good thing at all. Bob, kind of monitoring some of the comments in the chat room. I don't know. People have asked me, even if it's a different quarterback, you change quarterback, but I think it's also the play calling, and the offensive coordinator and the head coach are the same person. So,
hey, we've been wishing for the offensive coordinator and the head coach to have a conversation with each other for over a year now. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's quite evident that conversation is not going to happen.
He's talking to himself. He's talking to
himself. It's not gonna happen.
Oh boy! And then everybody was like other guys on the panel. Willa Brown won. Coach Pettaway said, "Well, the goals are still in place."
They are.
It is, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't have any confidence that they'll be able to obtain their goal. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and say I was wrong. But I don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, BJ, I have a question for you. I mean, we kind of, Carlos just talked about it. I mean, Southern still on paper has a shot. If they win the next two and the Braves lose two, they're going to Tallahassee. So if you're Coach Dooley at this point, you've heard all the griping and moaning and complaining, you hear all that. Do you start to tinker? Do you still talk? Do you tweet some things, or do you go with what you believe in?
He's not, Charles. I'm sorry. He's not gonna do it.
I get it, but I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, do you still, as a coach, go with what you believe, or do you think of doing some things differently? Because if you do things the same way, you get the same result.
As a coach, you would definitely. And I'm glad we got Coach Pettaway on here. As a coach, hey, look, as a coach, you adjust those things.
You got to.
But Charles, we have not seen any adjustment over the last 2 years. None. So we're at this point, we expect to see more of the same.
I guess from the
see, I think the biggest thing the biggest thing that you all are talking about that is true when you talk about adjustments, you got to make adjustments. I just finished talking this past week to a college class, and it was a coaching theory. The biggest thing that I told those kids, you got to adjust to your personnel. You can come out as a coach with a philosophy and the way you want things ran, but if you don't have the personnel to do that, you better be able to doggone make an adjustment if you plan on being in it for a while. And I told them, you're going to have a short life if you try to force your system on kids who cannot do your system. And I think that's part of the problem with what you all are seeing and what we're seeing now. A lot of coaches get stuck in their ways and the way they want to do things. And if you don't have the personnel to do that, you're going to get yourself in trouble every time. You got to adjust according to your talent, your personnel.
Classic example. You talk about Aaron Allen. Allen last year, he was hurt this time last year. He couldn't move 2 feet left or right. He couldn't move the pocket at all. Coach Phillips, the quarterback's coach, Aaron Allen, Elliott Radden got together, knowing that Aaron Allen was going to probably be the starter. The offense has changed dramatically with Aaron Allen as compared to Tyler Macon. And so you have to make those adjustments on the fly, and the Braves have been able to do it. Now running game is kind of getting back to where it was, and that makes it even better for this offense.
See, that's a sign of a good coach, making adjustments. A seasoned coach, a veteran coach, making adjustments to the personnel that you had or the situation. Like in basketball, you got to even do it further than that. you got to make adjustments during the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because what your game plan that you come up with, man, they may be on top of that. You got to be able to make adjustments. Then the other thing, your leading scorer, the guys that you've been depending on a year up until that point, if they're not getting it done, you got to be willing to try somebody else or to go to somebody else. So I think adjustments, that's the name of the game.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. BJ, where do you see this game today? Still a lot on the line. I gave my thoughts about Pride, Senior Day, last home game. I'm trying to come up with something, and those players got to have it within themselves to say, look, last week was just a disaster. How can we come back and play a much cleaner game? Heart, all of those adjectives. Can we get it done and go out on Senior Day with a victory against a Prairie View A&M team that's going to be fired up, in my opinion, coming into this ball game?
I mean, if you look at this game on paper, Southern should win the football game. I feel like Southern is the most talented team, but you never know. I want to see, is this football team mentally tough? You played a key ball game a week ago. It didn't go your way, and you look bad doing it. How mentally tough are you? You come back Senior Day. I remember my Senior Day, walking out with my parents. It was an emotional time. I'll be honest with you, I was trying to figure out where the time went. When standing out there. How mentally tough, and can you put it together, your last home game? The seniors, I was always taught that Senior Day shows you, do you have seniors or do you have leaders?
Right.
Because the leaders on that football team, the seniors everyone has to rally behind them. And once you have a leader doesn't have to tell you to rally. You don't want to send them out the bad way. That's going to tell us a lot about this football team today. If they can do that, I like Southern's chances. If not, and then you think things are bad in Baton Rouge right now, they're going to get a lot worse by about 6:00 tonight.
Well, I'll save my prediction for later. I have it on paper. I'm just trying to kind of get through getting everybody's perspective and opinions. Someone says Carlos is frustrated in the chat room. Oh, yes. I've been frustrated because, most Southern Knights, and I tell whoever the coach is, you support them until otherwise. You had high expectations. We've talked about this on the show. Can you live up to those expectations? BJ, also, we talked about in these last two segments, and I think Charles brought up the point, social media. And I'm sure my best friend is watching right now. He brought up to me, he's never seen across all college football, somebody makes an outstanding play, a pick six. They put on the crown. They put on. I've seen the wrestling belt, and to me that was perplexing at first when I was seeing that. You just see that all throughout college football, and then the next play they may give up a 70-yard touchdown pass. Or you're going to get in front of the camera and say, "Boy, I got burned." No, don't talk about that. But you make one good play. You make one good play. And you're up in everybody's face. We talked about, and look, if I'm saying something wrong, you guys tell me. You see on social media, in the locker rooms, after the game, dancing, all kind of stuff going on. Then you come out the next week, you're calling out opponents. And then you get embarrassed. Are you going to go back on social media and say, I laid an egg? No. BJ, you're a former athlete on the collegiate level. It's the times we're in, but I just don't like it. I just don't like it. But am I wrong? Am I way off base about this?
You know what, Carlos? It's crazy you said. My dad would have conversations with me after ball games. After, why every time you make a play, you act like you didn't slay the lion.
Right.
Like it would drive him up a wall.
Yeah.
All right. Like he absolutely despises it. And you see kids, you do that. You know, I believe this. You can play the game with emotion and have fun, but we're going to be disciplined while we do. And I don't mind those kids doing that, but it's the excessive things, like when the referee have told you to stop jawing and you keep going, all the pushing and shoving back and forth and getting, to that standpoint, it comes back to discipline. And I always tell kids this: if you get a personal foul penalty playing for me, and it's something stupid, you come in to sit down because at that point, what you've told me is that your ego and how you feel is bigger than the greater good of this football team.
Yep. Yep.
Now that was the way that I was coached, and that's the way that I coach. I'm all about emotion and having fun, but when you get to the point where we get a 15-yard penalty that harms this football team, and you did it because your ego meant more to you than the greater good, our goals, this football team, then you go sit down for a while.
Right. Now, BJ,
Well
see
said.
that's just like in basketball. My kids were not allowed to get texts. If you got a text, you had to sit down. I don't care who you were, because you don't have to get text. That's not a part of the game. That means that you're going over, you putting yourself above the team when you do stuff like that. So the discipline portion, it has to come from the coaching staff. They have to instill that in them that, hey, we're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. This is not acceptable. And it's got to be consequences. And mine was, you sit your tail down, you got a technical foul, you got to sit. And then in football, they need to come up with a penalty for them getting the personal foul. You don't need that. Unsportsmanlike. You don't need that. So I think that's what it has to happen. It's got to start from the top.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at some of the comments in the chat room. A lot of the people are saying the same thing. It starts from the top, and just some things that are brought to me that happened at that last game. But once again, you look at it, but it's something that you've seen throughout the season. And so I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I'm not trying to take away players' creativity and doing some things, but I just think, as BJ said it's just excessive, and you see it across the board.
Yeah, so. Carlos, see, there's a difference. You can play with emotion and passion, but it has to be under control. I wanted my teams to be passionate. I wanted them to be intense on the floor, but we did that without getting technical fouls, because not only did you have to sit for that game, I punished you in practice the next day.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they had a price to pay. So we didn't get it. You didn't see my teams get a lot of texts. Yeah, every now and then we got one. You might get one for hanging on the rim, but misconduct and stuff like that. No, we don't do that. And you start that from day one. This is how we're gonna operate. Charles, I see you getting ready to say something. But yeah, we had to do that, man.
You know what, Carlos? Coach Pettaway is exactly right, with the exception of one thing. His players didn't get the text. He's the one that was fired.
But that was passion. Intensity.
Yeah. I got enough texts for the team, so they didn't have to get them.
Coach Pettaway's face when he's mad and in it, if looks can kill a brick, he would win the Academy Award.
Oh, I saw it.
Yes, he was.
I saw him when he came to Baton Rouge. He was remember I've said he was my favorite opposing coach at the time. Yeah. Intensity. Yeah. But all of that being said, when it hurts the team, as what Coach Pettaway and Charles and BJ have stated, then that's where it's a major, major problem. And if I'm an administrator on the athletic standpoint, when I'm keeping my receipt book, I'm keeping all of that. I'm remembering. I'm looking at all of that. And so when it's time to make an assessment then you have all the receipts.
Yeah, I was just, BJ and guys, I was just shocked. The pregame stuff. I was told there was some pregame stuff before the game. I didn't see it. I heard about it after the game. And even somebody threw a can of blue smoke on the field. Like, where'd that come from? I mean, already the game itself is a pressure cooker, regardless of the records, going back to the McNair days and going back to the first 2 SWAC championship games on campus. The game already has that. And then you add that other crap into it, and I'm using the word crap because I'm being kind here. It's a family-friendly show. When you add that to it, it just doesn't. It was just surprising to me, BJ, as a football fan, not an all-corn announcer, just a fan of the SWAC, anticipating a good SWAC football game. You didn't get that, and so I was disappointed. I was happy that the Braves won, but I'm taking my hat off again, BJ, as a fan of the SWAC. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And there's a lot of people in Jaguar Nation that I've seen this week that feels the exact same way as you. And it was embarrassing. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the things that occurred embarrassed this fan base and some of its fans. If you've seen the comments, people say, I'm embarrassed by the way that this football team behaved on last week. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, BJ, prediction if you care to do so. What do you think? I
think that Southern bounces back. This is a perfect opportunity for you to be able to do so. Senior day, you want to go into the Bayou Classic with a lot of momentum. This is an opportunity to get it. Want to see what this potential quarterback change looks like. It's either going to be a good thing or a bad thing because people are going to be able to see the change and they're going to be able to say, hey, was it the personnel or was it the system? What exactly was it? Is there a significant difference from this quarterback to that quarterback? Or is it the same thing? Now, if you have another ball game where you have 120 yards of penalties and the offense looks stagnant, it's going to ratchet up just a little bit more, and more people are going to be talking and not in a positive way.
Wait a minute, BJ. That sounds like I heard something. A potential quarterback change? Did you say that?
Yeah, that's why those are the rumbles. Those are the rumbles. We'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I thought maybe I wasn't hearing right. Well, but to your point, if it still ends up being a slow, erratic offensive performance, then it makes me think it's not just at the quarterback level.
That seat is going to look like this, Carlos. It's going to be this color.
and you're being kind. I think it would be super red, but it's going to be interesting. But boy, I can tell you the frustration is there. Yeah, Michael, I know. All core nights pulling for Southern today.
Yeah,
that's a big statement.
Yes,
overwhelming statement.
Yes,
but Carlos,
I wouldn't have thought that.
Hey, Carlos, I think with it being senior day, if those seniors have been great leaders, I think it's going to motivate the team. They want to send them out as winners on their senior day. Now that's a big key. If they have been true leaders, those seniors, then their teammates will want them to go out on top. And I think that will get them over the hump.
Well, I will say this, Carlos, in basketball, it used to be the way the rotation was every other year, all corn would be Southern's last home game. And our Lady Braves and men ruined senior day. And you talk about getting that award, getting that plaque with tears in their eyes. Yeah. Because you want to go out on top on senior day,
right?
I didn't play, but I know it's a horrible feeling when you're at home and you get that plaque, you get the customized jersey, and you lose that game. It's a horrible feeling, I know, and so I know for the Jaguars to have that horrible feeling on top of what hasn't happened this season will just add fuel to the fire even more so with the Bayou Classic, which ratchets it up probably tenfold even after that. So something's got to give here, and I'm pulling for Southern. I'm pulling for Southern, but I have no confidence, zero confidence that they can win a big game at home. Jackson State, FAMU, they had 2 cracks at it. There's another big one today. Until they show me otherwise, I can't do it. I just can't. But maybe I'm wrong. And if I am, I'll come on next week and say, good job, Jaguar Nation. Good job, Southern. But prior history and the receipts tell me, no, sir.
Charles, just right there, you just felt like what it's like to be a Southern University fan and supporter for the last 2 years. You just got an inside look. You just felt it right there.
Right, and it was so bad. I got a phone call Sunday from a guy who's he drives across the road, 18-wheeler, and he said, "I will pull up and help unload some furniture." You know who that guy was? That was me. True story. You know who that guy was? My older brother.
Wow.
True story. And no, we don't need you to do that yet. Older brother, but he's frustrated, and that's all to say. It's a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna take a timeout. BJ, we appreciate the time. If you want to stay on, you can. We're gonna go from some disappointing and frustrated news to a team, a first-year coach.
Yep.
And by the way, I had a Southern night, and I love him to death. He's a basketball guru himself. He told me that he still didn't see the motion and the spacing that I saw with Southern's first game against TCU. Teron Joseph went down with an injury, and just perhaps that kind of played a part in that game. But Southern was up at that point. But also, my person I was talking about, he was very impressed with what Southern basketball did. Their next game, we're going to come back and talk with Coach Pettaway about that. Not only was that a big game for Southern, but it was a huge win for the SWAC as well. And I think you're going to see some more of those type games and victories. Charles, I also got a chance to see Xavier and Alcorn. Xavier's a good program.
Yeah.
Alcorn had their hands full, but you can't base everything off of just one game. But I will say this. I think Coach Johnson will have his team, 2 things. They will play hard, and they're going to be prepared. And everything else will take care of itself.
It was a big win by Southern. Congratulations to the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And Carlos, you should have been in the conversation when I talked with Coach Bussey the other day about, we played Miles College, really, really good. BJ knows about that. Xavier, Landon Bussey played for Xavier. He talked about these games at home. You know what he told me? He said he doesn't believe in playing these cupcakes at home. He wants a stern test at home. I thought about you, Carlos. I thought about you. I know how you feel.
Wait. He's talking about his non-conference games?
Well, he's talking about the games at home. He was talking about these 2 games at home. Like he could have got anybody he wanted, lower level, whatever. But the point is he wanted 2 tests. He wanted 2 programs that he knew that were going to test his team. Because as he told me, quote, "You're not getting anything out of these cupcakes." He's not getting anything out of it. So
nope.
2 big tests with Miles and Xavier. I think you would have appreciated those comments because I know how you feel about those type of things.
Well, that's just my opinion. But even Coach Johnson's kind of spanked me a little bit when he was on Coach Pettaway. He said, and BJ, you were on. He said, "Well, you're a fan." I only got offended afterwards. I didn't think about it, but he didn't mean in a negative way. But I am a fan. But I'm also a host. I'm also an alum. So it's like 3 souls in one body, and I'm trying to keep them in the proper order. But sometimes it gets hard.
Yeah.
Just like what we talked about. And last week, I was totally frustrated. But guess what? God willing, the Creator willing, the sun will rise and I'll see another day. And just to have an opportunity where I can discuss and talk about that frustration, and you let it out.
Yeah.
And you feel better. We're gonna take a time out. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messages quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K.
Boy, I tell you, passion is another key word for the day. Are passionate. Looking in the chat room, a lot of but you know, I like that in a way, because if apathy sets in, then nobody cares. You can never say a fan base is not passionate.
Yeah.
And the Jaguar Nation, they'll love you to death, but if you get on the wrong side, it could be brutal. It could be living hell. But you kind of appreciate it. And I was just kind of doing the break, looking at some of the comments, talking about from a football perspective, the O-line is not being looked at enough as the main problem. But, you know, I'll say this, Coach Pettaway, 2 or 3 things can be the truth at the same time going on. From, you know, quarterback got text message from a best friend. He said he agreed point blank with BJ. The questions, is a quarterback being put in a position to be successful? How has his decision making been in the heat of the battle? So I think two or three things can be true at the same time going on, and I think that's what you see. Ahead,
and see, I think a lot of times, Carlos, we as coaches, we have to be careful about trying to put our influence or our philosophy over on our teams when we don't have the personnel. You look at it in the NFL right now. In New England, everybody thought that all those championships were won because of the coach. Well, when you take a great player away from that coach, things aren't the same. The coach is still there. The success is not there because they don't have the same quarterback. So a lot of times, like he's still trying to run his same system. He doesn't have a quarterback that was getting the job done. And in basketball, we have to do the exact same thing. You adjust your philosophy and how you want to play the game according to your personnel if you want to stay in it. That's bottom line.
Right. And I agree with that point. And I remember Don Shula in the interview. Every year, even if the previous year they were successful, even after winning the Super Bowl, going undefeated in the offseason, he make what adjustments? He looks at players coming back who they perhaps are going to leave that's not under contractual obligations, and he makes an assessment and he puts together a new playbook depending on what he's got coming back. And I think you just have to be able to make adjustments. And if you don't, stubbornness, it's almost one of those 7 deadly sins almost. I saw I saw Joe Paterno make adjustments. And these are coaches that have been successful. Now, we can't ask Coach Knight, but do you think Coach Knight made some adjustments during his career?
He had to. He had to adjust because now he kept his same coaching style, but he had to adjust to the personnel that he had. Because, years ago when they were strong in the paint, that's where the ball went. Once he got Isaiah Thomas and those perimeter people, his offensive philosophy changed to the perimeter. He made adjustments to his personnel. Now, did he still run his man-to-man? Yes. He's going to do that, regardless of who he brought in. Because if you couldn't play the man-to-man, you became assistant coach. You sat over there with him. Because that's the adjustment he made. He took a guy who he recruited, who he thought could play for him, but didn't pick up on the defensive principles and concepts. He had to become an assistant coach. Come sit with me. Because I got another guy who is not as talented as you, but he's playing defense. He's doing the things that I want, and we want to win, so he's going to go on the floor. So you got to be able to make adjustments. When I had point guards, my offense was generated around that. When I was able to go inside, my offense was predicated on that. You got to be able to make the adjustments.
Yeah, I would agree. Making adjustments and then knowing your personnel. I'll put that in as well. Well, we'll kind of come back to some more football, Coach Pettaway and Charles, but basketball.
Yes.
A team that shot 56% from the field. That's for the game. Shot 61% from behind the arc.
Yep.
And Teron Joseph, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Scotlandville High School, comes from a great program. He can flat out ball. And I thought that was kind of a difference in the TCU game because I turned it on 2 minutes later. He was on the court. What I was hoping it wasn't a serious ankle injury, but he flat out balled against University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Those stats I gave, that was Southern University, and they defeated UNLV 85-71. They were up by 19 at the half, 40-21.
Right.
Huge victory for Southern. Huge victory for Coach Johnson and the staff and the players. Huge victory for our conference and HBCU basketball. Hats off to Coach Johnson, and there we go. A little bit of the highlights.
Right.
Almost forgot about that. How could I do
Right.
that?
Well, Carlos, if you remember last week when last time I talked to Coach Johnson, I was telling him that I thought his team, even though it was an exhibition game, I thought that they played well, and he had a lot of people that did a lot of scoring. In this game against UNLV, he had 4 people in double digits. You know, Joseph led him with 22, and Demusis had 12. Davis had 13, and MUON had 16 and 5 rebounds. But here's the big key. When you look at that, they only had 9 turnovers. They had 9 turnovers for the game, and you scored 85 points. So they control that game from start to finish, and that's the first big win that is the biggest win of the year so far for the SWAC. And I think there's going to be a lot of different there are going to be some more games where the SWAC is going to win. I feel because the coaches are getting better. The coaches are bringing in better players. And I just think this is just a tip. That's just one game. And Coach Johnson will tell you, we still got to get ready to play these other games. But that is a good one. First-year coach. He's representing Southern well. He's representing the SWAC well.
Yeah. And
43 bench points now. 43 points came off that bench.
Right. Points in the paint.
Yep.
I highlighted it in pink. 38 for Southern, 24 points in the paint for UNLV. They have Brente Noel. He only had 4 points, but he's 6'10". Delang Muon, 6'8". That's the guy we talked about. I guess he's a 3 and a 4. But he can play outside. So hats off to once again to the Southern University staff and the players, because Coach, they now play their next game against a team. I saw a little bit of the action about the last 3 minutes. Arizona went into Cameron Indoor Stadium and defeated Duke. So I know Southern's going to show up and play hard, but hey, maybe that's 1 to 4 victories going in the conference play for Southern University.
Right. I think they got something they can use this game to build on. They got their confidence. I look forward to the next game for them. And yeah, they're playing in a tough place. Arizona can play. You know, you don't go into Cameron and come out there with a win if you can't ball. So Jaguar Nation is gonna have to get ready and get behind this team. But regardless of what they do in the preseason, I think all this is doing is set the table for the SWAC season. So that's why these coaches are playing these games. That's why they'll learn. They'll make adjustments. They'll take the positive things out of these non-conference games and get ready for that SWAC, because everybody wants to win that SWAC crown. Everybody wants to knock off Alcorn. Everybody wants to knock off Grambling. So I think that's what this will be about in the preseason.
Charles Edmond and Coach Pettaway. I was talking to a Southernite from Houston, and I told him what I liked was the spacing and the motion as far as offensive. At least I could identify that, Coach Pettaway, because last year I couldn't always tell you what the philosophy was for Southern University, but I kind of can see, as we can see, plenty of movement in space, and then flat out, they got some shooters on there. In particular, Brandon Davis, who comes off the bench. I like him. I mean, he can score, but he has this toughness. And he's not a big guy. But I just think all the ingredients are there. They just got to keep getting better, and that's all you can ask. Each game improve, learn from mistakes, and just try to improve. So,
Davis has 13 points and 6 rebounds. And if you get that from your bench, that's part of the reason why he got 43 points off his bench. So you might have a deeper team this year. And then, you know, that helps when you got that long grind of the conference schedule.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I was very impressed when I saw that. win. I was very impressed. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start. A big win, first-year coach trying to get things figured out. And you know what I did, Carlos? After that win, even though it's way early, it's way too early, I put a circle around Southern University coming to Alcorn. You know, we only played the Jaguars one time in this conference. I've already got that game circled. I mean, look, a game like
Alcorn will be fired up. I know.
Alcorn will be fired up, but Southern will be fired up too now. I mean, I have no doubt about that. A win like this will definitely help your confidence. Now, going in Arizona is going to be really tough. They beat Duke. It's going to be tough. But I think, you know, you get into some solid mid-major games and you feel like you can win some of those. And I think it helps. It helps your confidence, especially with a first-year coach. You know, just still trying to, because they're learning the coach and coach is learning the players. So you get those wins. Winning always helps. So when you do that, teams get better and better. I mean, Alcorn this week, they got Arkansas State, very winnable game. Then next Thursday, they play at UAB. Andy Kennedy, former coach at Ole Miss. Solid mid-major team in UAB. I think Coach Pettaway knows about that. So if we can get those two, in addition to what Southern has done, the rest of the teams in the league can do some good stuff. Look on the women's side. Look at what UAPB, you know, they almost beat Oregon State. Now, Oregon's a whole nother animal, but still, I mean, you're seeing some good basketball early on. The grind hasn't hit yet as all these teams are going to continue to stay on the road.
Yeah.
Right. And I went down to Florence. Alabama A&M played North Alabama at their place this past Monday, and we didn't shoot the ball well, and we got in the early hole. In fact, it was like 9-0 before we even scored. So it was just a bad shooting day for the Bulldogs. But I'm looking forward to the SWAC season. You mentioned UAB. We got UAB coming to our campus for the first time. All the years I coached, I could not get them to come to Huntsville. But now with that new event center, you know, there's been a shift in philosophy. The A&M women went down to UAB last week also and played. So we're developing that rapport, that relationship. We've had a pretty good relationship with UAB athletics. You know, we've played them a couple of times in football. I always played them when Mike Davis and those guys were there. And well, not only just Mike Davis, Mike Anderson also. So I've always played UAB in basketball. So developing a relationship with regional opponents, I think, is good. Remember, I've always talked about the regional play. If you could pick up a guaranteed game and it's not that far away, helps in recruiting, and it also helps with the conference RPI. So I think it's a win-win situation. And I'm looking forward to a lot of these games coming up in the SWAC.
Yeah. Go ahead, Charles.
I was going to ask Coach Pettaway, you know, there's one game I want to ask you about. And from what I was told at the old Elmore, was one of the biggest crowds other than Alabama State, Oakwood.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Oakwood. I mean, I've seen the videos. I've seen the pictures. Elmore was standing room only for Oakwood.
Right. Sell out.
Talk about that. I've often wondered about that. Like, how did that happen?
Okay, well, look, it's not just Oakwood. That's what I've been saying. If you want to make money and you want to play a home game, there are certain teams you need to schedule at home. I will have a sellout with Tuskegee. I have a sellout with Oakwood. I'll have a sellout with Miles College. Now, when you look at it and say, wait a minute, those aren't Division I opponents. Okay, no, they're not. But I'm helping with the gate. I'm helping. I'm bringing sellout. I'm bringing money into the university. No, I'm not putting my team out there against – I don't get them all in the same year now. Yeah. Every year I might pick one or two of those guys to bring them in. But our fans love them, man. And Oakwood, we try to treat it as an exhibition. They don't look at it as an exhibition, man. They close their campus down, and those students and alumni and fans, they come in there, man, and it is rough, man. They were over. If your fans are late coming, they're not gonna get in. Because Oakwood will beat them in there, man, and they'll have a home crowd.
Yeah,
you walk out and you like, wait a minute, did we change scenes or something? but I'm serious. That's why I think some of the local teams playing some of the local teams will help the bottom line. Yeah, and in our case, it's been proven over the years.
Yeah. Well, I said in hour number one, I thought we'll see some more of these big victories both on the men and the women's side within in the conference. And you remember last time we had Coach Johnson on, he said he wished the predictions, he wished they would have had him picked almost last. And because he said you still got to go to work. The predictions are just that to get the interest, and people can debate about and give their opinion on who will finish where. But the one good thing is, I always say you can compare and contrast. You can look at those early preseason predictions and then see at the end of the season how right you were, how wrong you were, or were you in the middle of the pack. But looking forward to some more wins on the win column within the conference. Coach Pettaway, anything else basketball wise? We could save NBA for another time. I guess it's still early. What? Somebody went down with the injury for the Heat? Oh, okay. Yeah, boy. What took him out? Took him out in the championship series, a wrist. This time it's a sprained ankle. But the in-season tournament, it seems to be catching a little bit of enthusiasm. Charles shaking his head. No.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Look.
Well, at least they're using regular season games. They're not adding games.
No. I love the play-in tournament at the end. I love it. You got teams jostling for those final two slots. I love it. Am I interested in an in-season NBA tournament in an 82-game schedule right now in November? No, I'm not. And I think if you got the players in their own living rooms and ask them, hey, man, you like this in-season tournament, even though it's a few pennies out there to play for? Yeah.
A few pennies.
I'm saying a few pennies compared to LeBron making $50 million a year. You get, I don't know what, I think it's $500,000. I don't know what the payout is.
It is. It's half a million.
$500,000. But the grind on your body. I get it as a fan. You want to see that stuff. But for me, I'd rather just get me through the 82-game schedule, get me to the play-in tournament at the end, and let those teams jostle to get into the playoffs, because that's where the real story starts.
Okay, well, hold right there. Just for the reason you said about the in-season tournament, I feel the same way about at the end of the season. You had 82 games to get it done.
Right.
And if you didn't get it done, then
shame on you.
Shame you. However, the Miami Heat. There we go. Going back to the Heat. They had the tournament at the end, lost, and then they got a second chance. So
same with the Lakers.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, really? So maybe I should stop waving my fingers and talking about that tournament at the end.
Hey, but Charles, with the in-season tournament, they didn't add additional games. They just took the regular season games and put them into a tournament format. So that and what they're doing, they're trying to copy off of what the WNBA does, and then also you got some European leagues that do the same thing. They have an in-season tournament to try to make games more meaningful. So in other words, they're saying if we put this in here now doing the regular 82 games, we'll make some more of these games mean something to the fans and to the players, because
people not taking off. And people not taking off at the end of the season.
That's the reason for the in-season tournament right there.
Correct.
You want all your stars to be available every single game. I get it. But personally, I like it on the back end. I like it. Now I agree with you, Carlos. You've been screwing it up for 75 games, and all of a sudden you wake up the last 7. Oh, voila, we're in the turn. We're in the big show, and now we can win it all. I agree with you on that. But it's just, for me, I just, an in-season tournament, try to keep the interest early on. I get it, just don't like it.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
We'll put you down for you don't like it, and we know you're tough. The Miami Heat still need a player that can get 20 on any night. Tyler Hero is too fragile. I wonder where that came from. Could it be our producer extraordinaire for today?
Yeah. Hey, but let me ask
that's
you
who
this.
that was.
Hey, Carlos, what about the #1 pick? How you guys like him? He's done a great job. He's done pretty good now.
Good as
Not as
advertised.
consistent as you want him to be, but man, when he's on, that kid can play.
Well, I think he's ahead of schedule, if I can say that.
Yeah.
He'll have some things to work on from a physical standpoint, but from the mental and just the athletic ability, he's there. And the scary thing is he's going to improve.
19 years old.
Now,
man,
Coach Pettaway, listen to him on some interviews. He's not big on bulking up, and everybody talks about his body. Look, the Slim Reaper still looks the same. That's not Kevin Garnett. No, I can't think of his name. Durant. The Slim Reaper. You remember he couldn't bench press 125. But look at him. So Victor will be fine. He will be fine, and he's just scary, and he has a great coach that mentored him in the early years. So he'll be just fine. But that comment, Miami Heat, they could use another 20-point plus score night in and night out. And Coach Pettaway and Charles, I still contend that Bam is playing out of his natural position. I think he's a four. He can play five. He can guard every position on the court. Maybe he is the guy that I'm going to talk to and say, you're that dog. Because I had a coworker tell me that Jimmy Butler doesn't thrive on – he's okay, I'll put it this way. If he's not that #1 scorer, that leader, that dog.
Yeah.
So maybe Bam can be that, but I'm not – we'll see. Still my boys, whether they win a championship or not.
I think Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, is ready to pass that mantle off. I think he's carried a lot of the load for this Heat team since he's been there. And I think, to pass that baton on a little bit, take a little bit load off of him, I think it's a good thing. Because I do think Jimmy Butler, he's a consummate professional, but I do think there's a little bit of frustration not getting Dame. He's got to play through that. And you will see if Pat Riley's going to add some talent to that roster. But I think Jimmy knows that, he's got to distribute some of the load mentally and emotionally, physically. And with Bam being the guy that can shoulder that with the broad shoulders, I think it's actually a good thing. And I think Bam would embrace that.
And somebody said, I'm going to talk about your team in a minute.
Somebody said, go get John Wall. That wouldn't be a bad fit now for them.
I got to make a note of that. That's our producer extraordinaire, I believe, again. Who happens to be a Miami Heat fan. Quickly, then we'll switch back in the last 10, 11 minutes and look at SWAC football race, which on the eastern side is over with. Games last week and games this week. And we'll take about maybe a minute or two for this one. The Los Angeles Lakers, Charles. They're like the Cowboys. They get all of the press. They get all of the accolades and all that. But let's just face it. I'm going to see if Coach Pettaway agrees with this. Anthony Davis, to me, is the guy that they need. We know what we're going to get from LeBron. What are we going to get from Anthony Davis? And once again, against the Miami Heat, he hurt his hip. I just don't think it's just bad luck that he keeps getting these injuries. What is it, Coach Pettaway? I'm throwing up my hands again.
Well, to me, he's the key. If he's healthy and playing consistently, when you look back at last year's playoff, every other game he played like the Anthony Davis that we expected, like the Anthony Davis that was in New Orleans. But see, he has not been consistent since he's put on that Laker uniform. He has not been consistent. And if they're going to go anywhere, he's got to be the one to lead them.
Yeah.
And I think LeBron is trying to pass the mantle on to him.
Yeah.
But he's not accepting it.
He can't.
Right.
He can't because you got to be available in order to get that baton. You got to have your hand out to get it.
Right.
And I agree. I saw a video and some still shots of LeBron, and already he looks tired. I think he doesn't want to carry all this load, but he's got to avoid them getting embarrassed. And they've been getting embarrassed here in the last few games. And, Anthony Davis, I don't know. I mean, you're paying him a boatload of money, availability. Without him, the Lakers have no chance. My Lakers have no chance. And I think at some point, you got to make a decision on Anthony Davis at some point. Do you load manage him? The NBA is going to get on you about that. Unless he's truly hurt. I'm not saying he's not, but there's something to that. He is fragile and he can't stay healthy. And if he can't stay healthy, the Lakers can't stay healthy. They will not go very far. They may not make the playoffs. There's too many good teams in the West. So I am concerned if I'm a Laker fan. You got a lot of money tied up into these dudes. Can you make some moves, a move or two? Don't know. But something's got to give here for the Lakers. I don't know what. But, I think Darvin Ham is frustrated. I know he is. He does a great job of playing it off. But, he's got to deal with it. But it's frustrating if you're a Laker fan right now.
Oh, yes.
Last question. Well, what you just said then, you know how you talk about the decisions that you make? Then you just extended Anthony Davis. Now, to me, you can't move him. I just don't understand that one. You pay somebody based on what they've done. That's one of the things. Then I guess two, potential and needs for the team, how that can help. But boy, you're stuck. And I tell you what, Pat Riley better not get on the phone and call or receive a phone call from the Lakers
from Genie Bus.
It don't matter. No, Anthony Davis contract now, man. That's a lot of money now, and I don't think you can. But anyway, I got enough problems with the Heat. I can't worry about the Lakers.
And here's another thing. James Harden is this James Harden experiment going to work? It looks. I mean, and I think when James Harden walked in the locker room, I don't know if y'all saw the video when he first walked into the locker room. And I don't know if that was for show or if that was reality, but that got my antennas up. When he walked in that locker room. And so far, it's not working. It's not working. You're paying him a lot of money, and so
that team was doing a lot better before he got there. Since he's been on that team, that chemistry is gone.
Yeah. And guess what? The team he left is playing very well.
Very well. Yeah.
We'll have to come out with our power rankings, but a big victory. Last week I said Boston was number one. They've moved down in my rankings now.
Yeah.
They didn't move up. They couldn't move up, but we'll have more NBA to talk about. Last but not least, we got about 6 minutes. Coach Pettaway, some interesting games last week and a Friday night game in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But Charles, last week, of course, the big game of the week, Alcorn over Southern University, 44-21, and we've kind of talked about that a lot in this ball game. Here we go. Here are my notes. SWAC recap for November the 14th. Also in the conference, it was JSU over Texas Southern, 21-19.
A lot closer than people expected.
Dangerous team. And I also have a prediction on Sunday with Texas Southern and Alcorn State. Prairie View A&M at that point over UAPB 38-14. It was Alabama State over Grambling State 17-6. A Southern fan base that's not happy, and now a Grambling State fan base that is not happy. Wait a minute, Hollywood Hugh, he can't be in trouble. He's an former NFL quarterback. He's going to be a great thing. Got to be a good fit. Maybe the Bayou Classic, if they get a win, it may calm some of the fires. But I don't know, Charles. I'm hearing our fan base is just as frustrated as
Yeah.
Southern University's fan base. But then Friday night, a big victory over UAPB, 43-14. That's how the recap went for November the 4th. TSU, dangerous team, Coach Pettaway.
Yes, it is. And I think TSU, even though they don't have their main man body, they have come up with a quarterback that's getting the job done for them, and they're playing well. And it's gonna be a big, and look, they're gonna have a big decision to make in the fall now when Body's back, because they got 2 quarterbacks that can actually get it done. The one game you did miss the last weekend was Florida A&M coming to Huntsville, and they put the beat down on my Bulldogs. And Florida A&M is showing everybody that they are the team to beat.
You can't see it, but that was the first one. How did I miss it? 42-28. Shame on me.
Right. Yeah, Florida A&M's for real now. They jumped out on us, man, 17-0 before we could even get in our seats good. and then, of course, we fought our way back, but they were just too strong in the second half. I think Coach Simmons has done a great job down there. He's already in the SWAC championship game. He's going to wait to see who's going to come out of the West. Right now, Alcorn, the Braves look like they're going to be the ones headed down to Tallahassee. But now that's not what I'm looking forward to. After we win the SWAC championship, I want the SWAC to be able to beat the MEAC. We need to find out what needs to happen. What are we missing? When I say we, I'm talking about the SWAC, the coaches, all of us. What are we missing that we cannot beat the MEAC champion?
Well, speaking of a champion, thanks for the message, Roy. Benedict is leading Albany 10-0 in the second quarter. Benedict, you know who their head coach is? Used to be at Southern University.
What?
Name is circulating. Yeah, Trey Oliver. I remember all of them. North Carolina Central, right there on the staff with Dawson Odoms, who is still in some Southern Knights' memory, should still be the coach at Southern University. We're not going to go down that road again, Charles. I'll have to get Tony Clayton to represent me. It is what it is. Quickly, we're almost out of time. But to your point, Coach Pettaway, if we're looking at the crystal ball, potentially North Carolina Central and FAMU, North Carolina Central is tough. They're really good. If that's the potential matchup, that could be a good one. But boy,
but I think Coach Simmons will be. You know what though? I think with him coming from the MEAC, he has a better understanding of what it takes to beat a MEAC team. You got to remember now, he was in the MEAC,
right?
He did well while he was in the MEAC. So if his team is the one representing us, we might be okay.
But I think the Braves want another crack at Central too. I mean, the Celebration Bowl and all that. The Braves want another crack at NC Central, Carlos. Quiet as it's kept, people still talk about that matchup. Braves want another story at it too. We got a long way to go though, but clearly Alcorn and Central, that's a game people talk about.
Right. Joseph said North Carolina Central and Alcorn. I'll say this. Those were better teams that Alcorn had then than now. Yes, I said it. And they still, they got gashed pretty good. I think FAMU is the best representative there. I said it, but they've got to win it. Just because I say it, they got to go out and get it done.
Yep.
Could be a potential FAMU and Alcorn in the SWAC championship.
Yep. Well, we'll find out.
November the 11th, quickly, Alabama State at Mississippi Valley State, Alabama A&M at Bethune-Cookman on HBCU Go TV. Wow. Just wow. I'm just going to say that. Just wow. Prairie View A&M, of course, at Southern. Lincoln at FAMU. Lincoln will have some nice money after expenses. They've been all over. And I tell you what, I bet you FAMU will put that game away in the first quarter. Not like another team that I won't mention.
Well, Carlos Musa's not expected to play. If they put it out,
They don't need him. They don't need him.
I know.
Come on, Charles. They don't need him.
Musa's not going to start, so
they saved him for that Florida Classic, unless he's injured. And of course, Alcorn State at Texas Southern Sunday. Here's my prediction. We don't have time. I'm going to take Texas Southern in the upset Sunday. It's on a Sunday, the Lord's Day. They're playing well. Yeah, don't fall out just yet. We got about a minute left. They're a dangerous team. Should have won in Baton Rouge. Could have easily won at Jackson. This team, albeit you don't see it that with their record, they're very dangerous. And by the way, Andrew Body's mother was in the chat room.
Okay. They're a dangerous team, but I still think the Braves will come out on top.
Thank you, Coach Pettaway. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All seriousness.
We'll cut Charles' camera off after that.
Okay. All seriousness. This you're exactly right. Quickly, Texas Southern, they should have beat Prairie View. They were up 14-0 on FAMU. Had a chance to beat Jackson State. Should have beat Southern University. Texas Southern's problem is Texas Southern. Self-inflicted penalties, self-inflicted mistakes. They make 5 plays, commit 5 less penalties. We're talking about TSU in the Western Division race. So this is going to be a dogfight come Sunday. It's the only thing in town on Sunday, and we just got to strap it on to get it done.
I think that's ESPN Plus, that game. So I'm the dissenter on that prediction. Southern and Prairie View A&M. I got a lot of questions. Can Southern run the ball effectively? Can Southern University get better quarterback play and play calling? Can Southern University get better ball security? Can a banged-up defense get it done today? I'm going to go out on faith, a big leap of faith, and I got Southern winning 24-21 at A.W. Mumford Stadium Senior Day. Want to thank all of our guests. Want to thank Roy for producing and giving us that expert analysis with the Miami Heat and what they need. Well, if it wasn't Roy, I just said it was. And to everyone watching, keep the conversation going. Joseph says, sorry, Carlos, Texas Southern ain't beating Alcorn.
I agree, Joseph.
We'll see. I like the upset. But if I'm wrong, Benedict scores again. Wow. Very good team. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Oh, and by the way, Blue and Gold Century Club, a proud sponsor of the Carlos Brown Show. And then next week, I'll give you an update. I'm going to ask for something from the audience and also give you an update on my health issue. But, hey, you could tell, I guess I'm doing pretty good. I'm still excited, still animated, and I'm still starting mess left and right. But
and sideways.
But I'll put it this way. I'm going to give you an update on the health issue. That is, for those who may be just tuning in, chronic kidney disease. That's what I'm battling, and I'm going to complete this life journey, and I'm going to give you some news on where that battle is going. Peace and God bless.